A couple of weeks before I graduated from law school, Professor Enwald had said to me, "Sellers, trial lawyers are born, they're not made. The really good ones can get up and tell a story. You've got it. You can stand up before a group of people and weave a story out of a set of facts." I found that I could. My name is Ernest Sellers. My friends call me Ernie. I'm a retired lawyer. I practiced law for a little over 60 years. That's how I made a living. I was a child of IFAS. My dad was an ag teacher. I studied agriculture with the materials my dad had gotten, and I would go through them book by book. I was fascinated. In about the 10th grade, I started attending 4-H meetings. I learned to study cattle, judging cattle. I learned how to public speak. I traveled all over the country with 4-H. On the way to the National Dairy Judging Contest, we won in Chicago, and as a result, Florida was asked to represent the United States to the Caribbean contest. 4-H had a really major impact on my life. I'm sure that made me a better lawyer. I was enrolled in 1955 at Florida. I was a pre-dental student, but I kept thinking, I don't want to spend the rest of my life staring down somebody's throat with my hands in their mouth. I want to do something different. And I started considering veterinary science. My junior year, after class one day, Professor J.R. Greenman asked me, "You ever thought about being a lawyer, Ernie?" And I said, "Not really." He said, "You ought to start thinking seriously about it. You would make a good lawyer." And that's what got me to thinking about it. So I ended up carrying 3 majors and didn't know which one I was really going to do. And I asked Mr. Greenman, what I'd like to do is know which one I would be best at. And he said, "Ernie, there are tests that the university can administer you and determine which of these 3 fields you have better aptitude for. Do you want to take them?" And I said, "Certainly." The results came back. I was A in law, B+ in veterinary medicine, and D in dentistry, which did not surprise me at all. I pretty much decided I was going to go to law school. Once I graduated from law school, the first agricultural litigation I had an opportunity to do was defective seed. I got hired by 2 professors from Rutgers College of Agriculture, and I got a phenomenal education from those 2 gentlemen about things that happened to seed that reduced its germinability. That's how I ended up developing in that. And I represented an awful lot of farmers in seed cases. Every trial for me to start was just a nightmare. It was the most terrifying experience in the world. When the judge says, "Are you ready for the defendant or ready for the plaintiff?" When it came my time, I'd stand up and say, "Yes, Your Honor." What I really meant is, "Lord, no. I need to go to the restroom. I've only been 5 times in the last 30 minutes. I need to go again." I was just as nervous as I could be. But thank goodness, once the trial started, I was the calmest person in the courtroom.
Ernie has the ability to take very, very complex issues and break them down so the jury can understand it.
Once you got the data all in the chart, all of a sudden the jury could instantly understand. We did very well in that case.
And I have used some of his techniques in the classroom in order to convey a point to the students, and it's been very effective.
But I had to work awful hard to do it. There are very few lawyers that worked harder than I did in preparing and understanding the facts. You're going to need someone you can turn to for advice at some point. Always somebody at IFAS knew some specialist that I could talk to and that either knew the answer or knew who to send me to that would find it. I learned an awful lot of all of these people. This was a cottonseed case in which the rows of the good cotton you can see compared to the rows of the genetically defective cottonseed. Once you get into it and you get the bigger picture, you realize in a number of cases, this is going to be terrible for these people. It was their economic impact that I felt an awful lot of responsibility for. Particularly the younger ones were the ones that really bothered me. They're the ones that were making the least amount of money. You see somebody that's put a couple of $100,000 in a crop and no way to pay it back, they didn't do anything wrong. And then he got wiped out because he just had bad seed. And for many of them that I represented, they were going to get foreclosed on if I hadn't won that lawsuit. And I didn't lose many of them, hardly any of them.
Ernie really cares about the little guy. He's an individual driven for the caring for the community, for the caring of agriculture. In the 40 years that I have known Ernie Sellers, I've been so impressed with his commitment for IFAS. In the early years of the Ag Law Center, we were running pretty thin. And Ernie was so instrumental in helping us out in funding, but he also came through with our teaching efforts. Ernie came down and lectured on a couple different subject matter areas in my classes. He did it for 20 years. He always came through.
You were asked to do it, you were able to do it, you went and did it. It was never regarded as a chore or a burden.
The bottom line here is it's people like Ernie that make a difference for IFAS. I know what this man has done and the impact that he has had. Ernie really set a fire within students to study more, to engage themselves in a lot of different agricultural law issues. You cannot unring the bell once they get that message. Ernie has been a gift to all of us.
Well, there's no question that I've received far more from IFAS over my lifetime than I've given to IFAS. It's not even close. I've been very fortunate. I got to study agriculture all of my life. I did a lot of farming in the courtroom. Yeah. So where I did my farming was in the courtroom, representing farmers.